I am a degenerate. Yes, this is how I'm starting this video, by fully embracing my degenerate behaviors. When I was a kid, I never knew that pixels could be so hot. When I found out about San Andreas hot coffee mod, I lost my mind. I would stay up late and make sure everyone was asleep before I played multiple missions so I can get to see pixelated titties. However, I grew up and put childish ways behind me. Now I know I could just Google my degenerate ideas. Today, we're going to be talking about yet another game I played growing up. And it's crazy because it's made from the same people who made Detroit Become Human. I did some research on their other games, and I'll just say that I personally like Detroit. Despite the patterns and twists used, I still enjoy the game. But what you're seeing in this video is the predecessor to Detroit Become Human. Now I'll give a disclaimer now. The game originally came out in 2005, and in 2015, they released a remaster. All the footage and clips that you're seeing in the video are from the remaster version, not from the original version. But they both play out the same way, both have the exact same options, but I wanted you guys to have good visuals and still talk about the game. The game was banned on Twitch, which made me sad because I wanted to stream it at some point. Link in the description below. The game is called Fahrenheit Indigo Prophecy. The reason for its ban is that there are sex scenes, but those scenes are very missable. Like if you try to kiss your ex too early, she'll think you're weird and leave. But if you play a few tone-deaf notes on a guitar, she'll be moist enough to get in bed. The game starts out incredibly strong. Not the dialogue of the character, because that part is terrible.
It all started right here. Where else could it happen? New York, capital of the universe. The chessboard destiny chose for the last big game. I was just another pawn living my pawn's life. Until that night, when my life descended into chaos.
But I loved how things can play out depending on what you do. The scene starts out with a man taking a piss, and the main character Lucas, who's possessed, is in the stall carving his new mantra into his forearms. The man goes to wash his hands with a giant mirror in front of him, and yet doesn't notice a man with cut up forearms and a knife slowly walking towards him. So he kinda had it coming. As Lucas approaches the victim, the scene switches between Lucas and a hooded man surrounded by candles doing the exact movements as Lucas, showing that he is not in control. Lucas then stabs the guy 3 times. Each stab cuts straight through the artery to the heart. You'll see this mentioned in the game a lot because apparently it's impressive even if you're a surgeon, let alone a random guy. Lucas gains control back of his body and has no idea what happened. And you'll see at the bottom right your sanity meter. Apparently, if you don't take care of your character enough, then they can become depressed and commit suicide. I've already accidentally mixed pills with alcohol. You can walk out the bathroom early and have the waitress draw attention to you. Or you can clean up your crime scene, hide the body, mop up the blood, clean your clothes, hide the knife, and pay your bill and walk out the diner as if nothing happened. The body gets discovered by an off-duty cop. As you make your getaway, the scene switches over to Carla and Tyler, the 2 detectives working on the case. Carla and Tyler work the scene like cops would. They ask the witnesses questions, they comb through the scene and the body and discover clues like blood from Lucas, fingerprints on the knife, the blood on the mop. You can even fuck around and not find any evidence, which will not affect the progression of the story at all. After this diner scene is over, the game takes a total nosedive in how strong the intro was. Lucas wakes up in a pool of blood. I'm saying if any normal human being lost that much blood, they wouldn't wake up. You grab a shower, clean up, and oh no, it's the cliche mirror jump scare. Your mental health decreases more. But hey, you can always open the fridge and find the one thing that everyone has in their fridge: milk. I don't know why every character has milk in their fridge. I get that it's essential to a growing boy, but why does Lucas have nothing in his fridge besides milk? Is this like a reassurance that your dad doesn't have to go buy some? I take that back, actually. Lucas' dad died a long time ago, and you learn that fact when you go see your brother at the park. Before you get to do that, you play as Carla and Tyler first. And this part is about as useful and informative as plucking out your own pubic hair and eating it. You know that it's painful, and you know you shouldn't do it. There's no substance at all. You go to the police station and you learn Tyler owes a guy some money, and then call Tyler to wake him up in his 80s theme apartment with his girlfriend, where you learn this game is low-key racist since Tyler has his own theme song when he walks, and just Tyler that has a theme song. You go see your brother, and most dialogues are your choices to make. They don't really affect the storyline, but they do affect your mental health. So just like any conversation with my parents, actually. As you're walking away from your brother, you have a vision of a kid falling down in ice water. It's minus 10 degrees Celsius, which is 14 Fahrenheit. And the cop from the diner is there. So if you save the kid, the cop will recognize you. But you can actually just leave the kid to drown. But you shouldn't do that realistically, because that will tremendously affect your mental health. You jump in, fully clothed, to save the kid, and the cop just lets you go. What a horrible cop he is. And his reasoning that I deserved a break. I'm a murderer in the game, and because I saved the kid, then I deserve a break? The game cuts back to Carla going through the autopsy, and the game has a Simon Says mechanic. As in, Simon Says will pop up on the screen, and you have to press the buttons alongside the game to gain more information, or dodge a bullet, or save yourself somehow. The gameplay mechanic is really annoying, and it takes the focus away from the game. You can see in future games they change the mechanic to one button press every few seconds rather than have two low opacity Simon Says on the screen flashing lights at you. And by the way, some scenes show in flashing lights between cuts, so it's extremely difficult to spot which button it is. And other scenes, the background could be so bright that you'll easily miss the inputs. We switch over to Lucas, and this part is honestly just silly. I understand that Lucas wants to keep suspicions low, but going back to work, it doesn't make any sense at all. And also, where are there ghost bugs attacking me? The bug section here is all Simon Says, so I was very excited to do this part. As a matter of fact, my favorite part about playing games is doing Simon Says and not watching the game at all. When the whole scene is done and everyone in the office saw you freak out, the scene cuts to Lucas in his apartment waiting for his ex-girlfriend to collect her shit. This is where you play your tone-deaf guitar, so your ex-girlfriend is all hot and bothered now and wants to bump uglies. When you're done with that, you switch the scene over to Carla and Tyler, who are in the gym, and you have to spar each other for 10 rounds where you do nothing but Simon Says. That is so cool. You go back to Lucas visiting his parents' grave with his brother, and you have a flashback, and in the flashback, you have a flash forward. Let's just break this down really quickly. So you're in the future, Lucas is in the future, okay? And you have a flashback in the future to back when you were a child, and when you were a child, you have a flash forward of the future where you see a bunker burning, and you save kids from a burning bunker. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, how am I in the future? Like, does it change? Okay, if I do nothing, do they all die? Does my brother disappear in the future? It doesn't make sense at all, actually. Not at all. Like, if I do nothing. Anyway, let's just move on. When the flashback is over, you could choose between Carla or Tyler to play as. And by the way, Tyler meets a fully racist character. He fakes an accent and says Tyler is immigration coming to kick him out. And when you help him, he loses the accent and said he's more American than Tyler, which is somehow even more racist. Carla's part is just an annoying mechanic where you control her breathing and make sure she doesn't panic because she is claustrophobic. So to save you the pain of hearing her breathing, I'm just gonna skip this part. Tyler decides that it's a perfect time to settle his debt with the guy by a game of basketball that he suggested. And if Tyler loses, then he pays him double. But if he wins, then the debt is settled. I made Tyler lose on purpose. I just set the controller down and let him lose because you should always pay what you owe. I should know, I'm in debt all the time. Not a flex. Just poor financial decisions. Oh, also they're playing in minus 12 degrees Celsius, which is 10 Fahrenheit, in basketball shorts and tank tops. Yeah, that's a fantastic idea. Lucas visits an old lady that forces us to push her around and feed her chickens. I know those are not chickens. I'm just not giving the game any credit at this point. The old lady sends us back into our memory, and we see the diner scene again, but from the perspective of the person who was controlling us. To which the old lady freaks out and tells us to visit her tomorrow. I don't know why we have to wait an entire day, but I'm not gonna argue with a blind old lady. Cut to Carla taking a shower. Ooh, wee, baby. Carla gets a visit from her very gay best friend, because they really hammer in how gay he is. He's super gay. He pulls out his tarot cards and predicts the entire game from that. Yet another great cliche. The game thinks you forgot its mechanics, so it reminds you by having Lucas attacked in his own apartment by his own furniture while you do a bunch of Simon Says on the screen. Listen, don't worry about the action in the background. You are not going to be able to notice it considering that there are two buttons that you have to press simultaneously as the game shows you them. But it is incredibly silly that his furniture is attacking him. You're getting empty boxes thrown at you and books. Your brother Marcus arrives and see you dangling from the side of the balcony. Also, just to clear up, honestly, this is New York, right? This game is set in New York, and the living situation, it does not make any sense to me at all. Carla lives in a fantastic apartment. Lucas lives in an even better apartment. The only living situation that seems reasonable to me for New York, Tyler's the only one that makes sense to me. Tyler's living situation is the only thing that makes sense to me. Carla figured out that the killer works in a bank and visits Lucas and questions him and also steals evidence. Yep, which is, by the way, it's inadmissible in court because it was obtained illegally. In case anyone is wondering why this is a bad thing to do this, even if they suspected him as the killer, you should not be stealing evidence unless they were really confident that they can make him confess. They finally pinpoint who the killer is, and fucking Jesus Christ, it's fucking Lucas, obviously. Carla interrupts Tyler's 2-year anniversary, which prompts his girl later in the story to give him an ultimatum to either leave for Florida with her or dump her. And as the player, you can choose to stay or leave, but you can completely cut Tyler out of the game, so his storyline won't be mentioned in this video from this point on. So, the blind lady is dead. Yeah, sorry to break it to you, but that's literally how it is. That's literally how they're breaking in the game. She leaves us a message somewhere in her apartment where the cops have been called already. The scene is set basically to frame Lucas, which I don't understand why. If the person is powerful enough to possess us, how is he not strong enough to just kill us? You can either look for the message that she left, or you can just leave. It doesn't affect the story much at all. The information that's on the letter is not that important either. So you can just run out the window and everything will be fine. Carla and Tyler go to Lucas's house, and it's covered in blood and satanic ritual symbols. This part is mixed with Matrix level of dodging and beating up cops to get away from them, and a lot of Simon Says, which I died on multiple times because there's this one scene between the scenes. Okay, so it's a cut, right? It's very difficult to spot it, but it goes from a dark tone background to a bright tone background, and the button prompt pops up in that little cut there. So it's very difficult to see that prompt. I almost lost all my lives there. Thankfully, I didn't. I managed to escape from there, but also Lucas does a great backflip onto a moving train. Another murder happens, but this part is about as useful as the gym scene. Carla just learns Lucas was not involved in the second murder. Lucas goes to visit his brother in church, and you get attacked by ghost angels. We went from ghost bugs to ghost angels, and Marcus has yet to call the police on his brother, which I understand, but also he is a priest that should not be helping a murderer. Carla visits a mental institute where they dump a bunch of information, and you learn there's a clan and they're trying to take over the world, and the carved forearms of Lucas are two-headed snakes that allow them to see into other worlds, and they want to take over Earth. The game feels very disrespectful, by the way, towards the mentally ill, because the lights go out and we have another section where we control Carlos breathing, and it seems very disrespectful because it paints the mentally ill as people who want to murder anything that moves.
Oh no, I hear one coming. He's getting so close. Breathe, Carla. Don't move. Hold your breath.
Lucas then goes to his ex-girlfriend's house where he doesn't use any of the cool moves he's shown already, so he sneaks past the cops, and there's more Simon Says. The TV randomly turns on and Lucas learns about an ancient Mayan expert, so he goes to see him and lies about being a reporter, and the expert goes along with it, and he tells Lucas everything Carla just learned from the mental institute. Then he follows Lucas into the parking lot where he dies from a shove. Lucas pushes him out of harm's way, and the guy just dies there from a shove. You have a conversation with the mind guy that controlled you for the murder, and he literally just says, Lucas, you ain't shit. I pick people at random to commit these murders. But for some reason, you have the chroma. Lucas, you possess the chroma, which apparently gives you powers. So he turns into a panther and he tries to kill us, but fails because he's an L plus ratio kind of guy. Also, you see me mentioning the chroma here for the first time. This is the first time the chroma is ever mentioned in the game. They don't tell us that at all. Okay, so I'm gonna do a quick little information dump right here. You wake up, save your brother from death, evade the cops Spider-Man style, have a flashback when you were exposed to the chroma, and you get a call from the Mayan guy, and he has your girlfriend hostage, and you both die. Yes, Lucas dies in the game. And he calls Carla and asks her to meet him at his ex-girlfriend's grave with no backup at all, and she shows up. Also, the weather is minus 40 Celsius. Yes, we have gone into the minus double digits. Also, by the way, it's minus 40 Fahrenheit if anyone is curious. You get a vision of the indigo child, which, by the way, yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention that you're looking for an orphan child who is a prophet, and whoever hears her message will gain ultimate power. You have a really shitty fight with the Mayan guy. Then you learn that AI, artificial intelligence, also wants the child. So if the Mayan guy gets the girl, then Earth freezes over and a new ice age occurs. But if the AI gets the child, then the world goes back to normal, except for the fact you murdered a man. I went with the third option and kept the child. Also, reminder, the AI is the reason why Lucas is alive. And another factor here going on, when the fuck did AI become involved? Like, when was that ever the case? Like, this was never a thing before. I followed a bunch of homeless men down the sewers, and you know, it's a pretty Carla fucks Lucas. Yeah, sorry to be so blunt, but there's another sex scene, and I have several issues with this. Number one, it's minus 60 degrees underground. Number two, Carla says I love you to Lucas. She's clearly desperate, and also he doesn't say it back. Number three, they met on the top of his ex-girlfriend's grave. And number four, I don't know, maybe the world is ending, or the weather is a bit nippy, or maybe the fact that she's fucking a dead body. It's a literal reanimated body that died already. He's dead, and she even points out that he's dead by saying that, oh, there's no breathing. He's so cold. He's dead. You head back to the base that you grew up on, where you murder the indigo orphan. By the way, yeah, you fully sacrifice the indigo child, the poor little child. You hear her message and you become the most powerful thing in the world. You bring life back to Earth. You're still very much dead and very much a murderer and sacrifice an innocent child, but that's okay because Carla's pregnant and you know what happened to you, and that's all that matters. You did a good thing, buddy. Probably. What the fuck was that?